One of the first games I ever played was Quake 3 on the Dreamcast. Moving with buttons and aiming with a stick was simple enough, but I can't say 3-year-old me made any sense of it. Soon enough, I had played the same game on mouse and keyboard, and then found my love for rocket launchers and bunny hopping around at high speed. Quake 3 was the multiplayer Quake, and I'd progressed backwards going into Quake 2, and then the original Quake over time, and as I'm sure many would agree, they were rather unforgettable experiences. If you wanted to try them, they have been recently remastered, so go ahead. Not sponsored. Quake eventually turned to Team Fortress, and I would play inconceivable hours on Team Fortress 2. Though I mained Pyro, I would eventually fall in love with Scout for speed and mobility and close-up meat shots. COD was up next, with classics like Modern Warfare 1 and 2. I mean, who could forget legendary lobbies like those? And those games even appealed to my RTS-loving tactical side, if you can call LMG camping a tactic. But Black Ops 1 swept me up with its campaign, haste, and dual-wield shotguns. Black Ops 2 was actually peak COD for me, terrorizing Nuketown with the Sega 12 shotgun with dash-jumping close-up destruction. I even replayed it recently, since its campaign has apparently already happened in 2025. And fast and flying. FPS can't be mentioned without Titanfall, which I think had the most hype gameplay reveal trailer I think I've ever seen, and being a super Robot Wars enjoyer, I couldn't think of a more perfect multiplayer game. Titanfall 2 doubled down on mobility options such as grappling hooks, and who doesn't love the reward of a deadly and precise rail cannon? But nothing could fit so well, be nearly as perfect for me, or be as thrilling as the ultimate love letter to the boomer shooter, some little game named Ultrakill. Through the lens of a bloodthirsty robot simply known as V1, you begin your descent into hell, but not as a punishment, at least not for you. If you want to stop this video at any point and go play Ultrakill yourself, I encourage you to, especially since during the work on this video, Layer 8, Fraud, came out. But if you want to venture on, trust me when I say no amount of spoilers can dull the extreme experience Ultrakill offers when playing it for yourself. What makes Ultrakill so good isn't just that it's a super fast boomer shooter with blood and explosions galore. In fact, a lot of points in its favour I'd point to the opposite qualities that exist in equal measure. It's a ridiculously rewarding experience for basically any way you can think of to play the game. Going through and clicking on the heads will reward you with bonus damage and headshot score, but each enemy has more than meets the eye. Early on, your filths and strays fall to body shots and headshots just fine, but what about this headless husk? It's so tanky with no easy solution or weak point, and just seems to slow down your massacre. They don't have a neck, there's nothing above their shoulders, so where's the weak point? These kinds of weak points and solutions are given in-game, of course. Once you've encountered any enemy, even a boss, you can look up its information in any of the terminals, giving an overview of its lore and recommended strategy to fight them. This doesn't make strong enemies trivial, and in many rooms and in the cybergrind, you'd be juggling many solutions at once. But this is what gives Ultrakill a unique edge over, say, Quake, as you sweep room after room of mobs. So it's not all high-speed aiming ooga booga. But do you have any idea how smooth the movement is? You're introduced to everything you can do very briefly in the tutorial, but so much is possible when you start doing them all together. Bunny hop with ease through sliding, slide jump for speed in general, a dash jump into a slide jump is like a staple mechanic in this game. You can wall jump 3 times, you can build height by jumping after ground slamming, momentum is entirely reset when you dash on the ground or in the air, and you can even use a wall to build height, slow down, or change direction. It just all comes together so well in practice in ways I'm not sure I can put into words. It might sound overwhelming when put into a paragraph like this, but if you play the game, you slowly build up each mechanic as the game doesn't need you to do it all at once, and you'll find yourself being a god of movement at some point without even realizing it. That being said, Ultrakill does also have ways to make itself easier to play. For instance, in the assists menu, you can choose to turn on auto-aim and how much range the auto-aim should have. This means you can focus on your movement and dodging while the auto-aim simply moves your crosshairs to the nearest enemy when you're not quite pointing at them. But so long as you are aiming at them, you can still go for precise headshots. It doesn't do too much, so you're still allowed to get perfect ranks with the setting on, and just lowers some of the stress of Ultrakill, making it a bit more accessible to those who haven't played shooters their entire life. But the major assists are so powerful that they do disallow any kind of perfect ranking or scoring, so that's just more there to mess around or practice. The game is ridiculously rewarding without feeling unearned at any point, making it a satisfaction farm of a shooter. Let's start off with the obvious: skill. To gather clips for this video, I started playing the game on a fresh file, and as you can see, I've, so far, perfected or P-ranked every level on the first try. Yes, even with just one weapon in a lot of the early levels. You get judged on your kills, time, and style scores. To get S ranks on kills, you need to kill every main enemy in the level. I think some of the special encounters aren't necessary, like the secret encounter on level 02. Time is, well, self-explanatory.
Nice.
And style refers to score. On the right of your screen, you'll see little achievements you've done that build up style points, and also your weapon freshness modifier. It encourages you to switch weapons fairly often to not stick to the same one, which helps you most of the time in gameplay since in Ultrakill, each weapon is powerful no matter how late in the game you are, and each are more suitable for different applications than others. Even in the latest levels of the game, you're still going to be using the Piercer a good amount. Plus, there is an endless list of those style point achievements that you can get which boosts your style rating. A lot of the time, if you're consistently getting an Ultrakill style rating, you've probably got an S rank for style. Get all S ranks without restarting at a checkpoint or dying, and that's a perfect P rank, which might be important for something. That weapon freshness modifier scales with the number of weapons you have to a point, so you can still S rank style even if you only have the default Piercer revolver. I didn't have any bonuses carried over from another save, just all the skills I'd earned over my first playthroughs, and the guns offered to me through natural game progression. Meaning there is so much skill expression in Ultrakill just through aiming, movement, and importantly, enemy knowledge, that being good at the game purely for that feels amazing. On the opposite end of lots of kills very quickly and stylishly, you have secrets and challenges to earn, encouraging exploration of the levels to reward you with these secret orbs and challenges. Challenges unlock the stage's soundtrack for use in Cybergrind, and orbs give extra score and allow you to customize the colors of your weapon. Additionally, each layer has a secret S level that massively departs from Ultrakill's regular gameplay, either giving you a break or trauma. But what's incredible, talking of score and style, is how Ultrakill encourages you to be good at it. You can beat the whole game with just the default Piercer, but you can kill crowds much quicker with an explosive, chunk damage and gain health easier with the shotgun, and demolish Maurice here near instantly with the nail gun. This weapon freshness modifier that encourages you to swap will have you naturally finding the right weapon for every situation as you try and get those P ranks done. There's so many ways to increase style points beyond that encourages you to learn various techniques with your arsenal. You get score for coin shots, exploding enemies after launching them in the air with a ground slam, multi-kills, headshots, parries. Wait, hang on a second. We haven't even talked about the parry yet! Your melee is not just some meager damage option at close range, nor a fallback when you're out of ammo. We don't believe in ammo. So beyond punching enemies, you can punch most projectiles and attacks. This becomes not only a secondary way to heal, but allows you to hit back attacks to deal great damage. And probably the greatest parry skill check comes right at the end of layer 1, Clair de Lune. What was that? That was a core memory being made, and a boss that proves a major struggle to all first-time players. Hey, if V1's so cool, why haven't they made a— Oh my— V2 is just like you. Fast, small, rotates through a selection of weapons that you yourself have, and even though they have fewer weapons, shoot slower, move slower, and they don't heal like you, V2 is hard to fight. They're hard to hit, hard to dodge, and it can feel like you're just dodging around forever trying to do any damage at all with the best weapons you have. Here's a clip of some niche streamer's meltdown over fighting V2.
What's that? Whatever you are, you're about to get whacked. Fuck. Where'd you go? Huh? He's very fast. He's very small. And I just got point blank and didn't get any blood on me, apparently, so I don't get to win. No, it's too much. It's too. I get halfway and I'm just like exhausted. It's just, I get exhausted. I can't, my brain goes like, all right, man, that's enough. There's no humans are supposed to be doing this. You know what fucking humans are supposed to be doing? Humans are supposed to be fucking picking up like a wheelbarrow full of like logs. It's Amish. It's not Amish, man. Guys, when Ben Franklin was writing up Declaration of Independence, the Quaker Oats guy, what are you talking about?
And here's a few things V2 teaches you. First of all, best weapons you have? Trying to use shotgun or nail gun against V2 can definitely work. At least a few of your pellets will hit, but switching back to the humble Piercer with its instant hit scan shot will get significantly more consistent and higher DPS on the thing, considering how small and mobile V2 is. That's right, the Piercer was never bad. Not every new weapon is an upgrade, they each have a purpose. Moreover, the Marksman, aka the coin, can be a lot easier to hit than V2 themselves. So getting addicted to coins for a lot of players probably starts right here in this fight. If you were exploring and searching for secrets in this layer, you might have found a new weapon variant before fighting V2, known as the Slab Revolver, which fires slower but harder and does significantly more single target damage when used on your coins. So V2 is a great time to practice that too. But easily, the most important thing V2 teaches is the importance of parrying. They're just a fun as heck advanced parrying tutorial. These glints and shots happening at a constant rhythm help you anticipate V2's attacks and get yourself ready to parry, which, given how hard it is to reach and hit V2, is probably your best source of healing in this fight. The reflected projectiles also do very significant damage to V2 when they land, so it's no stretch in saying the better you are at parrying, the better and faster your fight with V2 will go. Now, it's not simple like a cheat code, since the timing of the parry changes for each weapon V2 uses. The glint or charge up before V2 shoots helps you identify which attack is coming, but instantly parrying the piercer and revolver shots is a different timing than the non-hit scan shotgun pellets. Same with the unparryable shotgun core eject, keeping you vigilant and active in the fight rather than basically playing a rhythm game with your melee. Can I just say, I love this kind of boss fight where the foe is a mirror of yourself, and since V2 is such a boss and uses the same weapons as you, it also means you can interact with their weapons just the same as you can your own. Like, you know how you can shoot your own shotgun core eject? Yeah, well, after a long and arduous fight, V2 runs away, but not without giving you a hand. So a lot of hard early boss fights become significantly easier if you get good at parrying, from V2, Swords Machine, to even a malicious face. Any attack with this yellow glint is asking to be parried, and you can parry almost any projectile. Almost any projectile. Oh! It's probably as good a time as any to talk about glitches and exploits. So being able to parry your own shotgun shells to make an explosive shot seems like such a ridiculous oversight that it had to get the devs' attention at some point. Well, here's what he had to say about it.
Oh yeah, I didn't mention it before, but fan favorite projectile boosting obviously started off as a bug, which was back in the like Prelude 1.02 or 1.03. It was because I was just like at one point I was just testing 03 for whatever reason. I just came to realize, and hey, I can actually parry the Swords Machine shotgun, even though it's like a burst of projectiles. There is each of those still an individual projectile, which means you can parry one of them. And I was like, oh yeah, I never thought of that, and then I did it and it worked, and I was like, yeah, but wait a minute, but the players' projectiles use the same code and the whole same system as the Swords Machine's projectiles with the shotgun, so maybe. And then he just do like, oh my god, it's cool tech. The game has the coolest video game tech of all time. Yeah, that's how they completely accidentally ended up discovering the coolest tech in the game, and it's just the things happening on accident. Like, if this was like a fucking AAA studio or something, they would be like, oh, that's a bug, we have to fix that. But because we're an indie group, we can just do like, oh, that's a cool bug, we'll keep it.
It stays because it's fucking fun. You're encouraged to try and find and do any combination of maneuvers and weapons you can. Punching your own weapon shots would be used with other weapons later down the line, intentionally. Yet they never become a requirement. You can get up this tower in 3-2 by just jumping, without needing to rocket jump with a shotgun, or do a glitch known as slam storage. Hackter could patch that out if he wants, but he hasn't. You can play Ultrakill however you want to. There is no better way than the most fun way to you. If you can think you can do it, you probably can. So, coins can be deflected by any hit scan shot, huh? Well, how about this one? And this one? Even this one? Can I skip the shotgun reload or pump animation by swapping weapons? You bet you can! In fact, swapping weapons to use their abilities off cooldown is a decent part of peak Ultrakill. Style rating and weapon freshness aside, juggling your coins, piercer charge, nail gun ammo and heat sinks, and rail cannon cooldowns helps you maximize your damage so well. The weapon freshness mechanic is like a way to gear you towards doing this as you strive for those P ranks. Exceptionally difficult tech like double, triple railcoin T-spins and whatever give even more burst damage, but it's not like the game requires you to do them, both rewarding practice and extreme skill without punishing players for not doing them. You have a brush and such a vast range of colors, but you can always settle with painting the world red. The core mechanic of Ultrakill is healing. Blood is fuel. It doesn't matter how many fancy techs you have, if you aren't dodging enough damage nor healing it, you'll die. Weaknesses in boss attack patterns or using weaker enemies to get a quick buckshot blood blast to get your health back up keeps you alive to do more damage, and at its core is more important than any of those giga high execution mechanics that people have come up with. That doesn't mean the game is easy. I mean, if you play this game and you're seeing this, you already know. But the rite of passage that is the P ranks will likely teach you enough to feel good at the game. So maybe you decided to go back, seek out every enemy, clear the levels quickly, and do so stylishly just to see what is behind that strange door. To quote the video that got me into this game, the only joke here is that P ranking every stage could possibly prepare you for what lies behind that door. After an uncomfortable build-up, you slowly open the door. What the fuck is that? Flesh Prison itself is a skill check with a fairly simple automated attack pattern. It's almost mocking to lose to this before you figure out the trick. It attacks with a circular spray of bullets, shots from these eyeballs, divine rains of light, and a slow, homing orb that will set you to 1 HP if it catches you. Every time you get it low, it just kinda eats the eye orbs, restores itself to full HP, and then spawns more eyeballs. How do you beat it? Well, once you figure that out, perhaps with the help of the console description, choice weapon swaps, and a well-executed plan, you reach my favorite boss of all time.
Free at last. Oh, Gabriel, now dawns thy reckoning, and thy gore shall glisten before the temples of man. Creature of steel, my gratitude upon thee for my freedom. But the crimes thy kind have committed against humanity are not forgotten. And thy punishment is death.
What is there to be said that hasn't been said about Minos Prime? He's as much of a skill check as V2 and Gabriel are to new players, except you're supposed to be good at the game now. And you did hear me right. Minos Prime isn't just my favourite boss in shooter games, he's my favourite boss full stop. He can teleport, beat the shit out of you at melee range just like Gabriel, only with far more explosions, pursuit, and mobility. Unlike Gabriel, Minos isn't so prideful as to take seconds to insult you, so you don't get many free moments to heal off of blood. V2 teaches you the importance of parrying, and Gabriel teaches you that free stamina bars actually isn't all that much. And Minos Prime takes both of those and clocks it up to 11. It's been said before, but it's like a fighting game character just waltzed into your first-person shooter game just to throw hands with you. Like the other bosses, you're probably going to have a lot of deaths your first time around, not even counting the Flesh Prison fight. But the most important takeaway with any of Ultrakill's bosses is that none of it feels unfair. You respawn right at the edge of the boss arena where you can take a breather, check the console for more information on the fight, or do what we all do and jump right back in. It's addicting in a way where I can always see where I failed and why I died. Just one more try, we'll probably get it, right? Eventually, it will.
Forgive me, my children, for I have failed to bring you salvation from this cold, dark world.
After a death monologue like that, this is as good a time as any to mention Ultrakill's lore. You can easily ignore it, but just Minos Prime here speaks plenty without you having to read anything. To start with, you fight the boss, the corpse of King Minos, in Layer 2-4, assimilated by something horrid. And it raises the question of, what happened to the guy? As you see this whole city in 2-1 from above, and travel through this once lived-in civilization in 2-2, you're accompanied by these most somber tones in the music, appropriately titled Requiem. And now the king of this desolate city is already dead? Something isn't right here. This layer of hell was the victim of tragedy. And as you pierce deeper and find this supposed angel riddled with pride, arrogance, and being a foul-mouthed sore loser,
You insignificant fuck!
it might start to click that Minos wasn't the bad guy here. And as you finally decide to satisfy your curiosity and check his lore in the console, indeed, he was trying to save the people of the Lust Layer. And so the angel Gabriel was sent to ignore reasoning and negotiation and mercilessly kill Minos. That monologue of a prime soul that swears vengeance upon Gabriel, but is unable to overlook the slaughter you have already committed, represents a just ruler who met a most unjust fate. It all comes together when you remember this tune from the Lust Layer. And then, Minos Prime's boss theme builds up to this motif. Now, this has just been about Act 1 so far, and for a while that's all Ultrakill had. But with Act 2 complete and Act 3 in development, there's even more to praise. Like, do you think the mobility options are overwhelming? Did you want more? Fucking grappling hook, baby! After acquiring the grappling hook, the game just opens up a new dimension you've never had before. Need a quick health boost? Grab some small enemy. Need to get somewhere? Hook onto your nearest Maurice or other big enemy. Need to get close for some meat shots with your shotgun? Hook right on. Ultrakill immediately teaches you to use it after its acquisition and gives you an underwater level to play around with it freely. That said, when you're not underwater, the grappling hook does hard damage, which means some of your max health will turn grey, and you can't heal it back temporarily. But considering how broken the grappling hook would be otherwise and how good it is regardless, you can say it's a fair trade-off to prevent the game from being too trivial. By the way, you can fly now. The rocket launcher is a brilliant item. Why don't we hear it from Gabriel himself?
Quake 3, my beloved. Oh my goodness. Hang on. Gianni's going to want to see this. Let me get him. Hi. Hello. But look, check out the rocket launcher. Oh, that fucking guy, dude. He does nuts. He did a I love this guy. A rocket launcher that has a, like, direct hits mechanic. That's awesome. Like, specifically, you want to go for directs. A reason to, like, not just play it safe and try to get splashed. That's amazing. All right, send me back. I got more cheeseburgers to eat. All right, later, bye. So well spoken. So true. Holy fuck.
And of course, if you jump on a rocket, all of these weapons, mechanics, and knowledge on enemies all add up in a beautiful juggling of cooldowns and puzzles in your constant fight through the layers of hell. But Ultrakill not only provides a great, rather familiar practice ground to train anything, even stuff that is quite advanced, but also provides another level where all of your skills can be tested in the Cyber Grind. The Cyber Grind is a beautiful horde level on a constantly shifting environment with endless waves of enemies. Anything from basic filths to hideous mass can appear as enemies as you progress with some of the best default music options you could ask for. But this is also where all of those optional challenges come in, allowing you to unlock boss and stage music for the Cyber Grind playlist as well. And, of course, you can always add whatever super appropriate textures and music you like. There's not really a greater test of skill in all you've learned than the high waves of Cyber Grind. Okay, well, maybe there's one. Though Act 2 gradually builds up some new mechanics for you to play with, like the grappling hook, new weapons like the rocket launcher, and the idol that can make any enemy invulnerable so long as it itself remains standing. And though these levels are by no means a cakewalk on your first run, they're not nearly as much of a test of skill than the second P-rank reward. Instead of a spinal staircase straight to the boss fight like with Minos Prime, Act 2's P-rank level gives you a level to battle through. But when the first room traps you with 4 Cerberus and has the nerve to add a ferryman with additional support you can't even reach yet, you know it's nothing like the other levels of hell thus far. Idols locked behind the gates force you to battle waves of enemies while under stress of these invulnerable fiends. I'll never forget the hour I spent in this room alone. Something's fucked right now. Is it me? Am I mentally fucked? With all the flying enemies, idols, and wide spacious rooms you have to fight in, the grappling hook must be used. But nerfing your own health with it comes with immense risk when there's just so much going on. There's an enemy that explodes on other enemies, enrobing them in sand that prevents bleeding, meaning you can't heal off them. Luckily, this enemy dies when it explodes, so it's nice of them to only put 1 in the room. Wait, why isn't it done? And after all of that, when a level presents you with another room with a warning, the grim reality of the entire stage sets in as you ready yourself for the boss of P2. All of that just now? That was just the warm-up. Like Minos, the next boss is trapped inside the flesh panopticon. It's similar enough, but once again tests your grappling hook mastery as it's the best way to deal with these little spawns while avoiding the main prison's onslaught. But just as you turn your attention to it,
this prison to hold me. A visitor. Indeed, I have slept long enough. The kingdom of heaven has long since forgotten my name, and I am eager to make them remember. However, the blood of Minos curse stains your hands, and I must admit, I'm curious about your skills, weapon. And so, before I tear down the cities and crush the armies of heaven, you shall do as an appetizer. Come forth, child of man, and die.
You had the warm-up, the warning, and the game doesn't waste your time with the Flesh Panopticon. This guy can just break out, unlike Minos Prime, who was already an astoundingly powerful boss. I spent 1 hour in that room of the idled mind flayers. Yeah. Well, I spent 2 hours here. If Minos Prime was a skill check on everything you'd learned in Act 1, then Sisyphus Prime is a skill interrogation. Similarly, Sisyphus has several combo attacks straight out of a fighting game, and though similarly parryable, most of his attacks are much faster, more explosive, quite literally, and he just does not give you a break. Everything has to be perfect in your fight with Sisyphus Prime. Run out of stamina? GG. Miss a parry? GG. Don't punch him when he tells you GG. Whereas I could recommend Minos Prime as a fun as hell boss fight. Get it? Sisyphus is also very fun, but toes the line on being genuinely exhausting. I'd recommend giving it a try, but I wouldn't look down on you for lowering your difficulty or even choosing to skip it. And if you must know, my 2-hour attempt was on violent difficulty.
Yes!
So concludes the life and times of King Sisyphus. A fitting end to an existence defined by futile struggle. Doomed from the very start. And I don't regret a second of it.
We should do this to make sure we do it again. No. No. Time. Holy shit. We've been here for almost 3 hours. 408 restarts. And don't forget, there's a whole P3 that's gonna happen. But for now, that's it for Acts 1 and 2 of Ultrakill. With Act 3 not even fully ready yet, it's insane how good this technically incomplete game actually is. And though I love both TF2 games as my favorite multiplayer shooters ever, neither of these great multiplayer shooters provided the pure enjoyment and absolute highs that Ultrakill has given me as a single player shooter. With boss fights I somehow like more than ones from my other favorite game, Phantasy Star Online 2, Ultrakill sits as not one of, but my overall favorite shooter I have ever played, towering over a life filled with Quake, Call of Duty, Titanfall, Team Fortress, Overwatch, the good one, not that one. I couldn't give higher praise to any other FPS. And so, whatever price Ultrakill has right now, whether it's on sale or not, especially with Layer 8 having just come out, it's worth that and more. I'm not sponsored, of course, but if anything in this video has sounded fun to you, I'd implore you to give it a try. Thanks for watching. I plan on doing more videos like this, exploring games that have had similar impacts on my life, or gaming as a whole, such as legendary titles like Warcraft 3, games that were once my favourite of all time like Phantasy Star Online 2, and hidden gems like Dungeon Keeper. But speaking of games having impact on my life, I think I'll be starting with a certain colourful rhythm game, exploring its characterization-rich story, and having a special guest help me cover the flip side of the game with all of its other gameplay-focused parts. Until then, farewell.